Did you know that over 25 million Americans live with asthma? The large number may surprise you, but asthma is one of the most common lifelong chronic. If you want to know more, you're in luck because April is Asthma Awareness Month. We're focusing on bringing you and your family the important information about asthma so you can take good care of yourself. Good evening. Welcome to another program of the International Grapevine. This is your host, Wallingford Lee. Tonight on the Grapevine, we want to talk about asthma. The name of the program is Can We Live with Asthma? More importantly, one of the reasons why we want to talk about asthma, more than 25 million people in the United States of America have some form of asthma. And we want to take the opportunity to educate them how dangerous it is and how to care for it if it's humanly possible. We're lucky tonight to have a special guest tonight, a gentleman that was on our program previously before. We're talking about Dr. Mario St. Laurent, who happened to be a pediatrist at Brookdale Hospital and also has his own business at SLB Medical Associate, which happened to be in Queens. Doctor, welcome to our program.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I just want to make a clarification. I'm not a podiatrist.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
I'm a pediatrician.
Pediatrician. Okay. Correction made.
Yes.
As we move forward, doctor, just exactly what is asthma?
Well, asthma is defined as a chronic inflammatory disease of the lung, okay, that obstruct the air from going out, from exhaling, okay? This is what makes a difference, the big difference between asthma and bronchitis, okay? It's for you to really understand this, we have to go we have to make a brief summary of the anatomy of the respiratory tract, right? We have the upper respiratory, the nasal passage and the larynx, okay, which is the upper part. And then it goes to a big tube, okay, it goes to the trachea, goes to the big tube, that is the bronchi. And then we have the small tubes, that is the bronchiole. It ends up in a sac that is called alveoli. And that's where the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide comes in. So oxygen comes in and the carbon dioxide goes out. The problem with asthma is getting the air out. This is the main problem with asthma.
Very interesting indeed. Now, what usually causes asthma though, doctor? Because, you know, the reason I ask you, you usually see people with sniffing and some people use an inhaler, and we'll get into the purpose of the inhaler, but what usually causes asthma per se?
Oh, asthma is caused by many factors, okay? We have the genetic factor, which they describe as 100 genes, okay? Of different genes that you can inherit from families that can cause asthma, okay? You may see some family has a lot of allergy and they usually are very susceptible when there is something that triggers an attack, okay? Now, this is the genetic part. Now, the most common part is the environmental part. The environmental part is divided in so many ways. It's countless. For example, we have irritants. Okay, we have fume, smokes. In the air, you have pollution. Okay, you have pollution. Okay. You have, in the household, you have dust, you catch cockroach, you have the smell of the urine of the mouse, okay, and you have mold, okay, that's inside the house. And outside, you may have grass, you may have pollen, you may have some people, they're cutting the grass, they may have a reaction. They may have people that have allergy. For example, people can be allergic with aspirin, okay? And people can smell perfume. They have an attack. And so many causes, so many elements that can get inside the lungs and triggers an attack. The most of the time, asthmatics are really triggered by virus. Okay, the most common virus we have is we have rhinovirus, we have adenovirus, we have influenza, which is the most common, and we have parainfluenza. So this is why we recommend mostly people who have chronic disease, lung disease, we recommend that they do use the flu vaccine, because when the flu hits you and you have asthma, it can be devastating.
So the flu vaccine will help asthma then?
Say that again? I'm sorry.
Can the flu vaccine help asthma?
Well, it helps you from getting the flu, because when you're asthmatic and then you get the flu, it might kill you. Okay, this is what we care, what we emphasize, and we push so much when somebody's asthmatic. You know, we emphasize on the importance of getting the flu vaccine. Okay, I mean, you don't have a 100% a guarantee that you're not gonna have the flu, but at least if you get 50 or 60% protection from getting the influenza, okay, at least that might protect you from, having a fatal outcome.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned some of the different things in the houses. I remember going to someone's house that had a cat and seeing one of her nieces come by, and she just could not take it anymore. Just having the cat around, she was just constantly having breathing problem. And I was shocked. I thought that maybe just smoking would be just something that trigger problem with asthma, but just having a cat around, she was just overcome by that. And I was shocked about that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It is very common. Animal danger, like cat and dogs and hamsters can trigger an attack if you really allergic to it. And most time, some people rather go to immunotherapy so that they can be immune to the cat, so they don't get the attack, instead of giving the cat away. So, it depends on how much love you have for your animal. Some people really start having attack when they go to bed and they have cotton pillow and they are allergic to cotton. They don't even realize it. Some people who are allergic to wool, they go to bed, they cover themselves with wool. They don't realize that.
Wow.
So there are so many factors at home so when you go to see your doctor, he really has to sit down with you and make a good clinical history. Make a good clinical history to see exactly what may be triggering your attacks. Because these attacks sometimes, if you're not prepared at home, which hopefully we'll be covering later, if you're not prepared, it can be devastating.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. How widespread would you say asthma is today as we move forward?
Well, asthma is very common around the world, okay? it's estimated in the United States, like you said, about 25 million, and in kids, it's about 10 million. You know, we lose about 155 155 children a year, right, in asthma. And it's about 5,000 adults that die with asthma a year. It's devastating, especially with adults, because children tends to get better as they grow older. When they reach adolescence, maybe it has to do with the hormonal factors. They stop having asthma by the time they're in their teenage years. But if you have adults that have chronic asthma, it's very devastating. As you can see, 5,000 deaths per year. I mean, that's a lot. Now, something happens because of the way the health organization here in the States has taken asthma. You can see there's a decrease. It has remained steady since 2008, the number of asthma cases in the United States, especially in children. And around the world, it has increased. There's a reason for that, because you can see any asthmatic you speak to right now have a nebulizer at home. Back in the days, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, we didn't have that much nebulizer throughout the United States. So now everybody at home has one or two nebulizers. As soon as they suspect that there is a difficulty in breathing or you start wheezing, you can access your doctor, speak to your doctor, and you can start medication. And then that has made a significant difference in the United States as compared to other parts of the world. Okay.
Well, it's important because of what you mentioned. In the 70s, that wasn't available. Now it's available, and it certainly helped a lot right now.
Yes, definitely. And then you have much less emergency visit as a result of everybody having access to a nebulizer at home. And you can also get in touch with your doctor, order the solution to your pharmacy, and then you have it. And the approach to asthma is much more aggressive these days than it used to be back then. So that has made a huge difference.
The biggest surprise that I have with asthma, part of it, I didn't know so many children, young kids had asthma. To me, I thought it only affected the grown-up, but I've seen a lot of children with asthma problems. I'm talking about 10, 8, 9 years old.
Yeah. The estimation of asthma visit in children is close to 600,000 a year. Okay, so this is one of the most common emergency visit here in the United States, children with asthma. And we lose about 160 kids per year.
Wow.
Of asthma. And most kids who usually miss school, okay, it's usually because of asthma. So the approach the health authorities have made here in the United States is that you can see if a child has asthma, he not only has medication at home that he can take, also in school, okay, if there's an attack, okay, there's a supply. The nurse can help the child out with his medication or her medication so that they can get rid of the acute attack. It's
in
very
other words,
important.
the school today are somewhat prepared for this with the children. If they have an asthma attack and stuff like that, the nurse at the school can assist in more ways than one then.
That's correct, because there's a form, a 509 form that you have to fill out for the child to give to the school so that the nurse knows exactly the status of the child asthma, and the kind of asthma it has, if it's mild, if it's moderate, or if it's severe, and the approach that the health provider has to take in case there's an attack. We have to fill this form out and the kind of medication that has to be taken, and then what to do, and who to contact if there's a severe case, if they have to contact the doctor, or if they have to call EMS. So that is there with whoever's providing the care in school, the health care in school. Okay, they have to have that in case there's an urgency, so the provider can intervene.
That's very important in the school system, obviously, because you're dealing with young children and you don't know their status and stuff like that. So that's a good one. As we keep talking here on the International Grapevine about importance of asthma and how to care for it, we'll be right back as we continue talking to Dr. Mario St. Laurent about the importance of asthma. We'll be right back on International Grapevine. You're watching an episode of the International Grapevine. This is your host, Wallingford Lee, a weekly program that deals with everyday issues that impact our lifestyle, such as the economy, real estate, education, and employment, just to name a few. Welcome to our weekly program. That's on YouTube and also Facebook, the International Grapevine. And we're back here in the International Grapevine talking about the dangers of asthma and how to go about it, and what are the signs of asthma and how dangerous it is. Today, while the medical field is very much advanced and there are more medication and more preparation for asthma, it's still something that is extremely important, especially for young children and women. And we want to talk a little bit as we go forward with our doctor here, how to go about it and what to expect. Doctor, from someone die from an asthma attack, can they die from an asthma attack?
Yes, like I told you, the statistic is yearly we lose about 160 children with asthma, and with adults it's about 5,000. It is very alarming, and it's something that you cannot take lightly when you have an asthma attack, because every second count. What happened is that we have done a lot to manage asthma here in the state, but we have more cars, we have a lot of pollution going around. The ozone layer has a lot to do with it, and this is where they have a lot of factories. You can see for instance, you see in the Bronx, there's much more asthma in the city of New York, in the Bronx, than any other place, because highways have a lot to do with it, and the factories, all that. It is very dangerous. There are certain things that we do that makes a lot of difference. Now, the use of EMS when somebody's starting having an asthma emergency medical service is very important. Some people have asthma and then they're having an attack. The medicine is not working. They can't get in touch with their physician. They drive, or they decide to drive, or themselves, or drive a child or somebody else to the hospital. This is the worst you can do. Okay, wow. You having an attack, it's not responding, you call EMS. Okay, they start your IV line, they start your medication before you reach the hospital. It takes 5 to 10 minutes, okay, for them to get to you. All right, and this every second count when you cannot breathe.
So in other words, it's more important to have a professional attending you than you actually driving a child or a friend or yourself to the emergency room. It's best to call the ambulance.
Yes, it's best to call the ambulance, because the ambulance right there starts medication. Okay. Contrary to the medication that you're using at home, they may start your IV. IV fluid is very important in an acute attack, because don't forget, when you're breathing a lot of fluid beside the air. A lot of fluid are coming out of you, and that itself is drying up your lungs. Okay,
And you're also in panic to a certain extent.
right. Okay, so they're starting your IV fluid and they're giving you medication that you don't have at home, so you have a better chance of surviving instead of dying on the road, because this might happen. So do not take the chance of driving or driving somebody else to the hospital if you're having a breathing problem. You call EMS, tell them you cannot breathe, okay? Or you have somebody that has power duty, and they'll be right there in 5 to 10 minutes to start your medication. It's very important, and it is key, okay, in surviving.
And it makes a whole lot of sense also to have a professional around than you trying to solve things on your own.
Okay, now we in hospitalization, okay, is 500 in adults, 500,000 hospitalization a year, okay, as compared to children, which is about 150,000 hospitalization a year, okay, and a lot of people are losing jobs, okay, if they don't have the kind of job that can secure them, that can give you the days off, so to take care of themselves or their kids at home, if they're having an attack. This is costing a lot of money, a lot of money. Now we have people who have exercise-induced asthma. Exercise-induced asthma is as soon as you start running, okay, you start feeling tight.
Wow.
Because a lot of ingredients, a lot of chemicals started releasing from your body, and then you start getting, your lungs starts closing up. All right. So these people usually, the best way to deal with them is have them use their inhaler, their asthma pump, half an hour. Some people, it's gym time, half an hour before gym time, they take 2 puffs, okay? That will help them at least get through their exercise program. It is very important to people who has exercise-induced asthma.
So it's important before the running or the jogging to use inhaler in a proper manner to give support to the lungs.
That's correct, right? So it helps them, open up, and they don't have to, go through the whole process. Now what happened is when you inhale an irritant, it could be perfume, it could be a cleanser in the house. You smell the urine of the mouse, mold, any kind of irritants that gets into you, pollen, grass, anything that irritates, it gets inside, okay? As soon as it gets inside, it releases a lot of elements in your lungs, and that in itself is what's gonna cause mucus, and then it's gonna cause swelling, okay? And this is where the whole problem starts. So we also have medication for that. Okay.
It's ironic to mention, does a certain amount of nutrient help asthma?
A certain amount of
nutrients.
Nutrients.
Yeah.
The way I would put it is that if you think you have an allergy with an element, the best thing to do is just avoid it. Okay. If you think that, I'm going to eat this thing, I know it's bad for me. I know this fish is bad for me, but, I love it so much, I'm going to take it. Make sure you have your EpiPen next to you, because your lungs are going to close up and you're going to die. Okay. So if you think some ingredients is going to trigger an asthma attack, or is going to give you some kind of allergy to make you, sick or kill you, stay away from it. Okay. Now, there are a lot of things that a lot of signs people should look out for, if you're living with asthma or if you have an asthma attack. Okay. Now, the first thing you may experience is that at night you may start having dry cough, a dry cough, and you're taking cold medicine, you're taking cough medicine, it's getting worse. It's not getting better. 2 or 3 days, you have that dry cough. You are having an asthma attack. You have to consider it as an asthma attack and start using your inhaler. And if your inhaler is not doing the job, consult your doctor because he might start you on steroid, okay, to help break the cycle. Okay, now that's a dry cough. Now, the other stage is when you start wheezing. Wheezing is that wheezing sound that you have. Usually, the first wheeze in asthma is in the expiratory phase, like not when you're putting the air in, but when you're putting the air out. Okay, it goes, okay, so that is the second stage, and then it's progressing. As it progresses, that what we call the suprasternal notch, which is this right here, okay, it's you start pulling on it, okay, in and out. That means that you having problem breathing, you start going into respiratory distress. Wow. And then you also have nasal flaring because your nose is opening in and out, in and out. People who has asthma should know about these things because, you know, the doctor, you go to the doctor and then you're talking to the doctor and then you doing it, your nose is opening and closing. You don't even realize it because you've been doing it so much and you think it's normal. That means you are bound to be in respiratory distress, okay? And then when it's getting worse, now you start using your abdominal muscle to breathe because your lungs start getting tired, okay? So now you're using accessory muscle, you're pulling on your neck, okay? This is going in and out and your ribs, you know, start showing up and your abdomen started going in and out. That you are in deep trouble by then, okay? That means your lips soon is going to be blue. Your fingernails soon are going to be blue. You're going to be tired and you're going to stop breathing.
You should call for help immediately.
That's correct.
What are the signs for a person who doesn't have asthma, but it begins to start? What are some of the signs that that person should have to know that they should either call a lung specialist or a doctor immediately? What are the primary signs at the beginning?
Say that again. Say that again.
Yes. Let's say a person doesn't have asthma, but they begin to experience it. What are the beginning signs of asthma for a person who start having like breathing problems? At what point they should go to a lung specialist or an allergy specialist?
Well, your primary care should be able to do that. If it's beyond his capacity or her capacity, that's when they will refer you, because if you're using your inhalers, you're using steroid, and you're using other medicine to prevent allergy, and you're not responding, then you should not be staying with your primary care. You should be seeing a specialist, because there are certain tests they're gonna do for you that the primary care will not be able to do, and then he's going to be treating you with more aggressive medication, okay, that will stabilize you. So this is the thing that you should do.
Is smoking a big trigger to asthma down the road?
Well, anytime you're using smoke, you're putting smoke inside of yourself. Regardless of what smoke it is, whether it's e-cigarette or conventional cigarettes or THC, any kind of smoke you're putting inside, okay? You're putting a lot of toxic element inside your body. Over 100 chemicals going into your lungs. So your lungs is not made for that. So it's what you're doing is not right, and you definitely should think about it. If you want to extend your life to a few more years, if you want to cut it short, then enjoy what you do, and then die happy. But if you really want to live and be comfortable by living, dying, but not suffocating while you're dying, then you should try to avoid it. Okay. So now this is why that the FDA has been so aggressive in doing campaign against cigarette smoking, because so many people have died before their time, and so much money has been wasted in trying to care for people with chronic illness secondary to smoking. And you could see that now, if you're a smoker, this is another topic. If you're a smoker now, and you're like 40, 50, now they have to do a sonogram for you, because they have what they call aneurysm, abdominal aneurysm, where aneurysm is where you have a globe, bulge from your main artery, and then all of a sudden it explodes. Wow. Smokers, people who smoke now, they have to do a sonogram, an echo for them, to make sure that they don't have that aneurysm in their abdomen, because people didn't know these things before. And this is so dangerous, but some people, unfortunately, that's what they choose to do.
That's crazy. Is it safe to say the asthma rate has begun to rise a lot in America lately? And the reason I ask that, if we sit down and think about the coronavirus and stuff like that, and the breathing problem and stuff like that, has there been a rise in the asthma rates?
I wouldn't say a rise in asthma rate, but here in the United States, as I told you, since 2008, there has not been any increase. It has remained stagnant because of the position the health care system has taken to manage asthma. Okay, as compared to other places, they have compared that with 95 other countries. Okay, where the rate of asthma has increased, while here in the United States it has remained stagnant because of the factors I've told you. Now, there are some other factors. It's still environmental, as for example the depletion of the ozone layer. It's a world. It's a world problem that the world has to get together to take necessary steps to fix the ozone layer that's fading away. Okay, but as far as pollution, still the world has to do certain things to control pollution, to gasoline, go green, and
save the environment,
so on and so forth, wind power and solar power and all this. Okay, all this has to do because we have more people living on Earth now than 10 or 20 years ago.
Very much so.
Yes, so we have to do certain things to correct the environment, the pollution in the environment. Okay, the more people we have, the more pollution we're going to have. So we have to do this. Mm-hmm.
No question about that. Well, Doc, unfortunately, we've kind of run out of time. I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the family of the Grapevine to thank you so much to be on the program to talk about the asthma issues, because a lot of us are facing it. There's over 25 million people in this nation that has been some type of affection with this asthma. We don't have words to thank you. And we hope that you'll be kind enough to come back on the Grapevine to do some other additional programs that we want to do with you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Just a reminder that, the second wave of the coronavirus is here, and we have to take it serious, and we need to, keep the protocol, the distance, the hand washing, and
mask.
Yes, and the mask, and of course, your flu flu shot is mandatory. Everybody 65 and above, people with chronic illness, because a key component in this COVID and the coronavirus is the acute bronchitis attack that it gives that resemble pneumonia. Okay, so if you're having, especially if you're having, lungs problem, amyloidosis, asthma, any chronic bronchitis, make sure that the flu vaccine is in your system. All right,
It's the must.
Unless you have a very contraindicated situation where you cannot take this shot at all, okay, this vaccine at all, then you should. Otherwise, it's a must, okay, to have this vaccine in your system for your own protection.
I couldn't agree with you more. And again, Doc, thank you so much for being our special guest. And
it's been a pleasure.
We truly appreciate it. And again, this is Wallingford Lee saying good night for the International Grapevine, and thank you for watching our program. We hope to see you next week at the same time, at the same place. Good night.